Well, this is going to be fun. We got, US, Los Angeles, all the way to India and back. Welcome, Vandana, to the Leaders Who Care series.
Thank you, Mark, for having me here. I am totally grateful that somebody like you have given me this opportunity to be here on this podcast today.
No, my privilege. I think people are going to see that you really are a leader who cares by our conversation here, and they'll get to know you, and then we'll have to get you a Hollywood agent for a movie and all sorts of stuff like that. Will happen. So, um, best place to start is if you can introduce yourself, not so much the business part yet, but like where you
Yeah.
from originally, where you are now, family, brothers, sisters, kids. Tell us a little bit about Vandana Tolani and who you are.
So I was in Singapore and Jakarta for 15 years. I am born and brought up in India in Delhi, and then we moved to Mumbai. Post which I got married and I moved to Jakarta and Singapore, where I had my own family office fund for 15 years. And this is my 12th year back in India. I did investments, then I went back to advisory as well. And I have two children. My daughter is 20 and my son is 18 years old. Both are doing their college and university studies. Um, my brother is younger than me. He's married and he has one girl, a 9-year-old girl. Apart from this, my sister, she passed away, and because she had cancer. This is all about myself. My mom stays in Mumbai. My father passed away when I was 3 years old. So I've been raised by a single mother.
Yeah, single moms are strong. There's no doubt about it. Thank you for sharing that. You're I know one of your kids, their son is your I'm having fun here, is your chief technology officer to help us do this podcast. So we thank
Yeah.
him very much in the background. And thank goodness for kids who know technology, right? Um,
Yeah.
and it's getting fast and furious with AI now too. But I just want to go back. You're talking about your kids. What were you like as a kid and a teenager? Did you have an inclination to do something good? Were you entrepreneurial? Was you sports, music? What were you like?
So, as a child, I was quiet but very, very curious. Definitely more of an ambivert. I was disciplined when it came to studies, but also loved a lot of creative things like drawing, painting. And, I always had an eye for fashion and beauty, even back then. I didn't run like lemonade stands or rally big groups, but I did enjoy learning new things, trying my hand at different hobbies. That's true till date as well. I like taking skill, based workshops like pasta making, candle making, perfume making, and things that connect you with a new experience and different people. It's something that keeps me engaged and helps me stay sharp as a leader. I've even tried my hands on with chocolate making classes.
That's absolutely my favorite part, the chocolate making one. I have to do that. And it's fascinating you say that because it's interesting. I always found it's interesting when we learn how where things are derived from or things are made or created, it does something in our brain to open things up even more, to
Yeah.
learning about even where people come from. It makes us understand better and being able to knowing where things are derived from to know how to go further on other things. It's brilliant. But the chocolate making is still my favorite. I'm gonna have to maybe take that up myself. I know your journey education wise, you you got your bachelor's in commerce, which is I got my bachelor's in commerce. That's like I guess derived from the English Commonwealth thing, the Bachelor of Commerce. You're at University of Mumbai, and then I guess after that you got your MBA, right? I'll see if I can pronounce this right at the Jamnalai Bajaj Institute.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What were you envisioning for yourself by getting into those topics, those majors in school?
See, during my BCom years, I started developing a strong interest in finance, and I found that it made more sense to me than other subjects. That realization helped me decide to go for an MBA at JIBS. I didn't have fully mapped out vision back then, but I knew I wanted to do something in the business world, and finance felt like the right fit. And it came naturally to me, and I really enjoyed it. As a child, I used to read a lot of newspapers and mostly business news because, somewhere I had this vision that I'm going to turn into a real good businesswoman. And that's how I came across all this.
No, very, very cool. It gives, basically gives you a foundation that you could almost go into anything because you understand finance and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
Share with us how you evolved, if you will, where what experiences stood out for you that led you to the family office world, including in Indonesia and Singapore.
So I got married in Singapore and Jakarta, where I headed a family office space which belonged to my in-laws. And this was also a good exposure to large scale capital and financial decision making. And I came back because I had a divorce after 15 years. And I saw how portfolios were managed and how investors think long term. It shaped my understanding of global business practices. And over time, I started working closely with angel investors and startups. What intrigued me the most was that how different each founder and company is, and each one of us have different stories and problem they are solving, and that keeps me interesting and gives me the real meaning to my work as well.
Yeah, that's a fascinating thing because founders are interesting in their own right because they believe that their business, their company is the best in the world, and they have to believe that to have the passion. And but it's hard to be a founder. You got fundraising, you've got creating revenues, you've got people you got to hire, um, and you got sometimes emotion involved because that's your baby, right? How did you find working with angel investors and with startups? How was the experience?
See, it's a journey in itself. And, I'll tell you, being a woman, it's slightly bit more complex in the finance world. So, in the early years, representation was the real issue. You'd walk into the rooms where there were barely any women. Now that's changing slowly. And but it wasn't the case when I started. There was also this tendency to underestimate women and their capability. But over time, I learned that you can't control people's biases, and what you can do is give your best. People, who gatekeep or discriminate or are showing their own immaturity, I keep my focus on myself usually and stay consistent and let the work speak for myself. Now, two things that helped me stay strong was my love for the field and my children. And I always wanted them to feel proud of who I am and what I do. That reason, was enough to keep me going even when things felt tough. So, Convanto was actually founded when I returned to India. And actually, the full form of Convanto, uh, there's a hidden meaning to Convanto. It means consultant Vandana Tolani. That's the form called Convanto.
I actually thought, con in Spanish means with, and and Vanto, it sounded like it was named that people are with you as part of your company. That's what I initially thought. You mentioned women. Our firm was actually launched at the UN headquarters on International Women's Day about 6 years ago. And
Yeah.
our first project, our first event ever when we started was actually doing a young women entrepreneur uh, consortium in New Delhi. That was the first ever thing we did in New Delhi. and it was
Oh,
wonderful seeing all the young women, even some girls, if you will, but young women really wanting to get into the entrepreneur world. And tell us a little bit more how you felt. I love the fact that you just concentrated on yourself and achieving, but it must have been a challenge you had to undertake as a woman of color, even if you will, to head into that investment world.
see, actually, this concept is there with many people. I used to think it's in India before, but in abroad, it is even more. That people think that women cannot manage money. And because of this concept that went into the system of our conditioning, people thought the same thing when I started and I came back to India. And essentially, that pushed me even more to do this because I wanted to prove that women can manage money a lot more better than anybody else. So I think the feeling was of giving back more, that I can prove myself and I can do this, I can do this. And that's when that keep giving me the drive to do this. And also having a lot of responsibilities on my shoulders. In 2014 when I came to India, my children were very small, and I don't have backing of anybody. I'm a self-made woman. So that journey was a little bit tough because you have to manage, kids pick and drop. You have to manage their studies. You have to manage work. Everything is done single-handedly. There's no second wheel to it.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, and I agree. I think women can definitely manage better than men, and I'm happy to say that. And I think the way to peace in the world, that's a different discussion, is also going to be solved by moms, actually. I think because of the, just a different mindset. Well, I know you've been recognized, certainly. You're one of the top 10 women leaders in wealth management. Your
Yes,
brand, Convanto, was under the top women entrepreneur brands. So that was a recognition. And now you're one of the most recognized boutique investment banks in India, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
led by a
yes,
female founder who happens to be you. Um,
yes,
I also know that, and this is my one of my favorite things, including the chocolate, is you got a Canadian connection as well, where you're a venture advisor with Loyal VC, which is a
yeah.
Canadian VC fund. Share with us the expert work that you do raising funds for startups and growth companies, because that's not easy to do, raising funds, especially these days. So share with us your experience with that and your thoughts on doing fundraising.
See, we work across early to growth stage, businesses, helping them raise capital, prepare investor materials like financial models, pitch decks, valuations, strategy plans. And the idea is to truly make them investor ready. What I've learned is that trust is everything. Investors look at numbers, but also they look at a lot of clarity and consistency, and the founder's ability to communicate their vision in a grounded way. And founders and investors don't always see things the same way. And a part of our job is helping both sides understand each other. When that alignment happens, things move forward more smoothly. So typically, we have to understand the investor's mindset. Plus, we have to understand from where the founder is coming, what are his pain points, and help the as many founders as we can to get investment. So in total, we have helped around 400 companies in 45 countries with fundraisers, and we have helped around six VC funds with fundraisers.
And so for the young entrepreneurs, the young founders, or any founders for that matter, but when you're young,
Yeah,
you have an opportunity ahead of yourself to get credibility, to get trust, to
yeah.
develop relationships. Excuse me. Can you share? It may sound obvious, but share how important it is to develop relationships in your journey, which then help you to have people that you can contact, have people that will refer you to other good people, to other investors potentially. Just talk about how important relationships are.
See, I value a lot of relationships with my clients because, client management is something that I have learned by time. And I think it's really important to build relationships with clients because they not only refer you more clients, they also write good about you. If you look at my website and see the testimonials, you will see all the people who've written really good about me. They have done so because they have seen this in me. So I think the work should speak for yourself, and I think it's very, very important to be candid and straightforward with everybody, whether it's the investor, whether it's with your client, and help them as much as you can. All deals don't close. Some deals close, some don't close. But in founders do understand that why a deal didn't close, it was not anybody's fault. It is more or less to do with the kind of business they are running.
One of my favorite topics is obviously talent because I've been working with talent for forever, and when founders have to bring on talent, or maybe even bring on, for example, when we do searches of president to maybe grow the company, um, it's interesting because we call it that the founder is giving the baby to the babysitter for the first time, and they hope that they don't drop the baby while they're doing that. And when you get funds, one of the first items on there is talent to hire.
Yeah.
And it's for all those reasons, it's difficult, but the good founders know what they're good at, and the good founders know who they need to hire to scale the company. Can you share your experience with founders hiring people?
So I'll tell you that we don't usually indulge with founders, hiring processes. But when they hire us as an investment banker, they do see our background, our decades of experiences that have come into power, what deals that we have closed. But when it comes to me as hiring, what we have done is that we have given no time rule to our employees. They can work at whatever hour of the day they want to, as long as they finish the task that has been given to them. They don't have to come 9 to 5. They can take an off on Saturday, Sunday. We don't deduct salaries when they take holidays. And we give food to all our employees who come to work with us. Apart from this, we also give them transportation facilities, especially to the girls in our company. And we are a between 15 to 20 members team that work under me. And this is how we have helped them. And we give them decision making power so that they become more confident. And I don't really believe in, micromanaging. Like if you get into too much micromanaging, it spoils everything. Whether it's at home or whether it's in your office, whether it's anywhere. And I've seen that it doesn't really help you or the other person because your focus goes away from a larger picture.
No, it's brilliant. You're never going to develop leaders to grow the
Yeah,
company if you're telling them everything what to do.
yeah,
And the really good people don't want to be micromanaged. They want you to trust them and be able to achieve and stuff
yeah,
like that. So yeah, it's brilliant. And we get that a lot with especially when a founder has to hire a senior management like a president or a head of sales or whatnot. And again, they want this person to succeed, but it's still their baby, their company. But the good ones know they have to give it up to grow. So yeah, it's so important to develop leaders because you can't do it all yourself, type of thing. I want to talk a little bit about tech too. Um,
yeah, sure.
you know, we've seen over our years, the pace of technology, how it's impacting our lives, but with AI now, it's happening faster than ever. And for entrepreneurs to keep up, especially they don't have the big resources like an IBM or a Cisco or whatever. For them to keep up with something like AI is sometimes hard. What's your thoughts on how AI is playing a part in everything you're doing with investment, with founders, with entrepreneurs, and how it's impacting their business and even their employees and their communities?
See, the first thing is that, when demonetization happened in India, many people didn't know how to use the UPI payment systems like Paytm, Google Pay, Phone Pay, etc. Now, because we were forced to use these payment methods, we became a little bit more proactive and progressive. And now, even the vegetable vendor uses it. The same thing happened during COVID. Many people didn't know how to use Zoom, StreamYard, all these platforms, Google Meets, but it just did a lot well to have online meetings, be totally digital, be visible, stuff like that during COVID because everything was online. So, technology changes every 6 months. That is true. We need to be, I think, proactive and progressive in how we adapt technology. But I do believe that AI could be a threat for tomorrow. This is primarily because all the work, requiring insight, creativity, knowledge is being surpassed by AI, and the manual work is left to us. In a recent podcast, I did hear someone mention that plumbers might have more job security than knowledge workers in future. So the fifth revolution most definitely has to be humanity. And I think, specialists in the fields like ethics, psychology, anthropology will come together and create boundaries between AI and humans.
Yeah, I love that answer, and I kind of agree that AI may be the biggest opportunity we ever had for people to be happy doing what they do,
Yeah,
instead of just being in jobs to do like manual type of things. And it's fascinating, and it's definitely moving at supersonic speed right now.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's quite amazing. So um, we say something in LA. We say that we keep the audience wanting more, so we can do a sequel. So we may have to do a sequel because of it. But I have one more question on this part for you. You
yeah.
mentioned COVID before, and one of my clients in 2021 told me, he said, Mark, the year 2020 was the year that flew by slowly. And I thought it's an
Mm,
interesting comment, flew by slowly. And sometimes it feels like COVID was still yesterday, and sometimes it feels like it's years ago. It's all like a mixed thing.
yeah.
And now we're already in the last half of 2025, amazingly. And can you share with us with all that's happened, what are you most grateful for and what are you most hopeful for?
See, I think, I am most grateful for my life, for my family, and for the work that has given me a purpose. Now, though 2020 reminded us how fragile everything is, just being here and able to do what I love and be with my children means a lot. Actually, it was a breakthrough for me because all my meetings happen online. I didn't have to go anywhere offline, and I cracked the maximum number of deals during 2020 and 2021. And looking ahead, I feel that I'm very hopeful for my kids as they grow into adults. I want them to be kind and thoughtful in how they live and lead, and at work, I'm hopeful for startup ecosystem that is not just focused on trends, but really committed to solving meaningful problems with focus and integrity. So this is what I feel, and I am generally a person who's grateful for everything. The moment I wake up, I say thank you for the morning and thank you for this beautiful day. And I actually, at the end of the day, I do reflect on myself that what are the few things that I did, today, and felt good about it, and that made me feel grateful about life. So here near our home, we have a temple wherein we actually feed 100 poor people on every Tuesdays, and sometimes on Saturdays as well. And it's very small things, like sometimes ice cream, sometimes chocolates, sometimes we get them chips, sometimes we get them actual food meals. So I think this activity helped us to be more and more grateful for even the food on our table, for everything, for all this that I have received today from the universe. I'm grateful for everything.
Yeah, and the small things are sometimes even the best things. It's
Yeah, yeah.
well, I'm grateful that I have a new friend. That's what I'm grateful for, and I'm grateful that you are a leader who cares for sure, and I think that's what makes me hopeful as well that you are, and now I've met one of your kids, your son. I'm hopeful because of his technology knowledge that he's doing good things too. So. Thank you for all that, and thank you for sharing on our Leaders Who Care series. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me here, and hope finally we were able to manage. So I'm very, very grateful.
Me too. We did great. Thanks.